In today's tutorial, we're going to learn an easy way to install the Home Assistant on Unraid as a virtual machine. I struggled to find specific instructions on how to set this up, so in today's video, we're going to go through it step by step. If you're interested in knowing how to do this, then stick around for the rest of this video. Though I'm a huge fan of HomeKit, there's a lot of items that you buy that are not HomeKit compatible, which forced me to look for a solution and ultimately want to set up Home Assistant to bridge the gap between these two platforms, as well as open up more powerful integrations than what HomeKit currently allows. One of the big frustrations I had is the lack of specific, easy-to-understand installation instructions. I looked in various sources on how to install Home Assistant on my Unraid server or on my NAS and was left with some unanswered questions. The Home Assistant site has a wealth of information, but it doesn't directly address Unraid or NAS units. That said, let's get started on how to do this. There's a couple things you need to do before you can begin the installation. First is to make sure that you've enabled VMs in your system settings by going to System Settings, clicking on VMs, and enable it. The second thing, which is also very important, is to make sure the domain folder is visible on your network so that we can add an image once we download it. To do this, go to Shares in Unraid, click on the domain share, and scroll down to the bottom and set the export to yes. This setting will allow you to see and access the share on a file explorer on your computer, which we'll need to do later on. Now that we have the preliminary work set up in Unraid, we need to download the right image so that we can install it in the Unraid server. I'll leave a link to this in the description below, but from their main site, click on Documentation, then Installation, and then scroll down to Linux. Click on the Linux tab and download the VM Workstation version. Once your download is complete, go to your Downloads folder and right-click to extract the zip file. The next step is to navigate to your Unraid server shares using your File Explorer and create a new folder under the domains directory, which is now visible to us. I used HA-test for this video, but you can use whatever name you want. Copy the file you just extracted to that new folder. Next, go back and log into your Unraid server and go to the VMs tab. Click on Add VM and select Linux as your template for your VM. Give it a name and description. Next, assign the number of CPUs, but you need to have at least 2. Depending on the hardware you have, you can assign more, but I found 2 works for all the basic functions. Next, give it at least 2 gigs or more of memory, and then leave the next sections on default and go down to the primary vDisk section. Click on Primary vDisk and select Manual. Click in the field next to it and select Cache, and then navigate to the Domain subfolder and select the new folder you just created. This last step is very important, and you have to add the name of the image file you just extracted. You can either copy it in or type the name, but it has to match exactly. It should look something like this when it's finished. The last thing is to set up the network type to BRO so that it will get an IP address from your router when you hit Create. If you did everything right, it should go through an installation process and create the VM and be ready to run. The last thing you need to do is to log in to Home Assistant. There's a couple ways to do this. The first way is from your web browser is to type homeassistant:8123, and that should bring you to the home screen of your Home Assistant. If that does not work, or if you prefer to use an IP address, then go to your router's DHCP section, use the IP address followed by :8123, and that should also work. One suggestion that once you have everything running and you're able to log in is that you assign an IP address to your Home Assistant to avoid any issues or things changing downstream. Well, that's about it for today's quick tutorial, and please give it a like if you found this useful. If you want more videos on Home Assistant and some of the things that I'm using it for, then let me know in the comments. Please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so, and thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next video.